Hey, what's going on guys? Cookies here, and we are going to do our Bigwig setup guides. We're starting just like a day or so late than what I wanted to, but the goal for the series is going to be to release one dungeon every single day for the next however many days until we're through all the dungeons, which I think is 8. So that'll mean that leading up to Season 2, we should have most of the dungeons released, and then the first week of Season 2 release, we will finish the dungeons and then also get the raid Bigwig setup guide out there. So I don't know for sure yet if we're going to put the raid kind of in between. Maybe I'll do the raid on Tuesday and then finish up whatever dungeons we didn't end up doing on the next few days, but we'll kind of see how it pans out. I might do all the dungeons and then just do the raid, halfway through the week. But yeah, so starting out, we're going to do Operation Floodgate first. This is a dungeon that I only got to do like up to the first boss on PTR because the couple of groups that I did try just didn't get past the first boss. I was mostly just puggy on the PTR and I didn't get that much playtime on it. So we're going to jump into that, which is right here. So right now, by the time you watch this video, it might be changed on Bigwigs to be current season. But right now, if you're still the week before Season 2 launches, then it's going to be, you're just going to go with the War Within and go to Operation Floodgate. I'm also not 100% sure on if these settings are going to change when they turn into current season. I don't think that they will, but that's why we have this video for reference also, because then I can, if things change or get reset, then I can always just come back here and kind of readjust it. So for the footage, I'm going to use this right here. I'll change my monitor so it's easier to see. We're going to do that, and then if I switch back to WoW, should work totally fine, just like that. And then what we're going to do here is, this is just footage from a YouTuber named Sin. They play Discipline Priest primarily, and make a bunch of content where they have PTR footage and stuff. So I just asked them if we could use this since I don't have footage of all the bosses, and then that way we can kind of get an idea for what the boss does, and then we can go in game and adjust our bigwigs based on what we want. So as anyone who is familiar with how I do this series, for the bigwig setup guides, we have a few goals that we want to set. So we go through each boss of every dungeon, but I'm going to do one dungeon at a time. And then the goal is to set a countdown for one ability on each boss. We want a red bar, because I use colors basically to indicate certain abilities. So if I go to like a random ability here like this, and then I go to colors, you'll see that the normal color is just like this kind of neutral gray color. We want to change one ability to a yellow bar, which means that it's kind of like for me personally, what that means is it's like the semi-important healer ability that we want to watch out for, or some kind of semi-important ability to keep an eye on. And then the red bar, we change one to a red bar, and that means that it's like the healing check of the fight. If there's any kind of unavoidable AoE damage that happens in the fight, I usually will make that the red bar. And then we put a countdown for something in the fight as well, because countdowns can be super useful if you use them, just one time, because then every time we hear that countdown timer start, our brain already knows exactly what ability it is because we only assigned it to one ability per fight, if that makes sense. So that's the goal. Countdown, yellow bar, red bar. Right, so we're going to take a look at the first boss, and these videos will probably be a bit longer because we're actually VOD review, or kind of looking through a VOD and stuff like that to see the fight and get an understanding of it before I just, adjust the fight in Bigwigs without people really knowing what's happening. So I'll just go ahead and full screen this. And then we're looking at the first fight here, which is Big MOMMA. And there are a bunch of trash mobs getting pulled with this in the PTR, so we will just have to kind of ignore that. They should burst it all down. But the main things we're going to be looking at are the timers themselves on the Bigwigs timers in here. So the first ability, it looks like we have Sonic Boom. So we can immediately look at that. And what it looks like it does is it sends a kind of, sorry if it minimizes and stuff, it's because like while I'm pushing my push to talk, it messes with my browser. It looks like it sends a frontal out from what I remember, so it aims at a random player and then sends a frontal towards them, and if you get hit by it, you get silenced and take a bunch of damage. That's our first ability that we can kind of keep an eye on and remember, is Sonic Boom. The next thing we have is, it looks like on the timers, there are ads that spawn in this fight, but we'll go over that in a second since it was hard to see with the other ads. And then there we have another Sonic Boom pointed at the player. And then we're looking at the next ability. It looks like Electro Crush is about to happen. So this is Electro Crush right here. It looks like it's a tank buster. And then what was this ability just called that the boss was casting? It was... Rewind a tiny bit. It's like Kill O Block Barrier. And it looks like this is going to be our unavoidable kind of group-wide AoE healing check that we need to do. So it looks like it does... Yeah, it looks... Oh, actually, this is something else. So I don't know what that did. It did some kind of... Did just do a shield on the boss or ads or something? That's if we can't... If we don't know what the ability does, that's where we can look in Bigwigs and like read the description of the ability. So see, like the barrier, I'm not sure what it does. It looks like it applies some kind of shield to the boss, and then when you break it, it does jumpstart. So, if that is the case, we'll double check. We'll go in game now. And it looks like that's probably going to be all the abilities. We'll watch the rest of the fight just to make sure. But, so we have Jumpstart. Once all Dark Fuse Mecha Drones, which is the ads that respond in the fight, are defeated. Attempts to jumpstart their depleted battery. This process causes it to take 200% increased damage and release. Okay, so it's when all the ads die. It's not, and it doesn't look like it's something to do with the barrier. And then the Kilo Block Barrier, reducing all damage taken by 80% while the shield is active. Okay, so this does pulsing damage to the group, and it's basically kind of like a soft enrage for if you don't kill the ads in time. She gains like a damage reduction, so you can't just ignore the ads and kill the boss. You have to kill the ads at a certain point. Once she puts the shield up, then you have to focus the ads down to like break the barrier, because then she jumpstarts. So jumpstart is going to be the important ability, and that's when all the ads die. So what we will do is we'll probably set... I'm trying to think. So we have... Jumpstart is the obvious kind of like big ability. The only problem is it's based off of when the ads die, so there shouldn't be, like on Bigwigs, there's not going to be a timer for it, so it doesn't matter if we change like the color of the bar and stuff like that, if that makes sense. So because it's based off of when the ads die, we'll just have to kind of remember that. So what we'll do is we will set a yellow bar for the Kilo Block Barrier, I think. And what that will do is... We can set this as the red one, actually, because it kind of serves the same purpose as Jumpstart, and it'll happen around the same time. So we'll change Kilo Block Barrier to a red bar, which I'm just going to copy this emphasized one and paste it in that. So we make that red so that we understand when the barrier is going to happen, because not only does the boss take reduced damage, but she also gets like a pulsing unavoidable damage to the entire group while the shield persists. So it is going to be a healing check, and in higher keys it's probably going to be something that you do have to deal with. Like the barrier is going to persist for a little bit while you finish off the ads. Then we have the ad spawning right here, which is mobilize mecha drones. So I'm just going to change this. I'm not going to put any colors or anything for this, but I am going to change the sound. I'm going to go down here and change it to ads. That when she spawns the ads, I just don't have to think about it. I can just hear ads, and I know that, okay, now I can, dot up the ads and stuff like that. And then Sonic Boom is the frontal, so we're going to make that our countdown ability, because I feel like that is probably the most important, just to be aware of that it might target us. The only other countdown thing I could think of is maybe the Tank Buster, just to be, aware of when the tank's going to take a bunch of damage. But I think this is fine too. And then we will just set the sound to our usual frontal sound. I don't remember what sound I usually use. Let me look in an old dungeon just to check. I don't even know if I have any in here. I'm not going to dig through these because I don't think like any of these had any important frontals that I used. So for the Sonic Boom, we changed the sound to do only when on me. That way if it targets us specifically, we know. And then we make it a countdown. And then we just make the sound, this one right here, flag taken PvP. That's what I usually use, because that just means that it's targeting me. So if I hear that, that means I need to move out of the way. We'll use that for now. And then we'll set up bars. I think I disabled stuff on accident. There we go. And then we set it to only when on me, countdown, just to make sure it's all fixed again. Okay, there we go, we got it. And then we have add set up, we have our red bar, and then our yellow bar will be the tank buster. So Electro Crush will be our yellow bar. So I'll go like this. And we'll change this to yellow, and I usually just make this 200 on each. Oh, there is our first boss. So we have our countdown, which is the Sonic Boom. We have our yellow bar, which is the tank buster, and we have our red bar, which is the barrier or unavoidable AoE that starts pulsing on the group. And then next up, we'll look at Demolition Duo. Sorry, this video is already taking way too long, so I will try to push through these a little bit quicker. So we're going to go to Demolition Duo, and we'll go ahead and try to find that. I don't know if there's timestamps or anything. Kind of skim through here until we find it. There's no way that we haven't fought it yet, right? Yeah. Might have to be a boss that we just look at in Bigwigs. Because I don't know where it is. Oh, is this is it right here. Yeah, this is probably our Demolition Duo. Demolition Duo, Bront, and Quick Fuse are the two bosses. There we go. We'll go ahead and just like watch the fight for a second and kind of see what we see. So we have Wall Up is an ability. That's going to be a tank buster probably. We have whatever this is. What did it say? BBBFG. It's a bunch of like lines on the floor that need to be avoided. Big Bada Boom is a cast. It looks like it spawns a bunch of, I was going to say soak circles, but that is not soaks. They're bombs, and then you probably have to charge the boss into the bombs, I'm guessing. Looks like they might have messed up. Oh, it targets random players, and then you charge through the bombs. Okay. Does not target the tank I don't think it targets the tank every time. Maybe it does. I actually want to rewind that and see if it targeted the tank both times. So the first one is targeting... No, it's targeting the Druid in the group. Okay, so it does target random players. Should be our first thing that we definitely adjust is putting like a targeting, thing where if we're targeted by it, we know. So this is the barreling charge. I'm gonna look for barreling charge. We're gonna change it to only when on me, and we're gonna make the flag taken PvP sound. And then the other abilities that we have the tank buster, which is wall up. We'll see what else we have here. We have Big Bada Boom. That just puts the bombs down on the ground. BBFG is just the things that you have to dodge, the lines. Kinetic Explosive Gel. Kinetic affixes a kinetic explosive gel to a player, which inflicts 300,000 fire damage every 1 second. Removing it causes it to erupt, inflicting damage to everybody and knocking up all time bombs within 5 yards. So it's something where the player's going to take damage, they walk by a bomb, and then you dispel them, and it knocks up the bombs that are nearby to keep them. I think the idea of this fight is you keep the bombs like bouncing up and down to avoid them exploding, because it resets the timer maybe every time you knock them up. So for the explosive gel, because it's a dispel, we're going to put that as our countdown timer, I believe. And then we want to set this to our red bar probably, or at least our, yeah, we'll do it as a red bar for now, because I didn't see any like unavoidable group-wide damage. Looks like this is the most that happens. And other than that, we just have the lasers that we dodge and the bombs that spawn, and then the tank buster. So again, like our last fight, we'll just set the tank buster to a yellow bar, since it's pretty much the exact same thing, where we just have one thing that we need to kind of pay attention to healing. Okay, cool. So we don't really need to watch the rest of that fight. We can just kind of confirm the kinetics explosive gel, just how it works, so we can just watch that really quick since it's about to happen anyways. Here's the explosive gel. It goes on a player. They take damage, and then you just dispel them to knock up the bomb if there's any left over, it looks like if you didn't get them all with the charges. And that's it. It doesn't even look like it did a lot of damage or anything when he dispelled. Looks like it only damages the player. It doesn't even do group-wide damage. So this is all going to be just like avoidable damage in this fight. It doesn't look like you take very much damage. There's the kinetic gel, so you can use it to get rid of a couple bombs. It does do a lot of damage to the player that's targeted, though, that's for sure. And there's the charge. You want to aim it at the bombs. Looks like you can avoid the charge as well. If you're not standing too close to it, you can move out of the way once it starts. Okay, that's a pretty straightforward fight. So we have that all set up. And then our next fight is going to be Swampface. So that was this guy that we saw. Okay, let's see what he does. It's like we have Mudslide. Looks like it targets a random player. And you just avoid it. This fight, it looks like you just take constant ticking damage. It almost looks like the tree boss off of with our academy, because it looks like it's some kind of like bleed debuff. Okay, this is a lot of stuff going on actually, but it looks like the bleed debuff is pretty persistent. Like you don't really get a break from it. It looks like it's just kind of going to be a constant thing in the fight. It only goes away for a second right here. Where'd it go away? Right here. I'm wondering if he casts anything to reapply it, or if it just... No, it just goes on everybody immediately. Okay, so then we just need to look at that AoE damage that happens to the group, and that is Awaken the Swamp. So that's going to be our big group-wide AoE, so we're going to immediately set that to our red bar. We're going to go in here, Awaken the Swamp is going to be our red bar. And we can just read the rest of the abilities since we got a basic idea. So Mudslide is the frontal, and then Sludge Claws looks like it's just a tank buster, but also a heal absorb, so that's pretty important for us. And then the Razor Choke Vines is just entangles players together in pairs. The vines inflict damage. Moving 14 yards apart yanks the players back together. Okay, so you just have to stay stacked up in this fight. That's not going to be anything that we really pay attention to. It's basically just the whole group always has a bleed on it. You take a lot of extra damage during Awaken the Swamp. You avoid the mudslides together as a group. Like you just move all in the same direction, and then we need to heal the heal absorb off of the tank. So that means we're going to put a countdown for the mudslide so that we know when the frontal's coming. And then we don't need to put like the targeting thing if it's on us, because it's gonna we can just assume that it's pretty much always gonna be on the group, and we just move as a group. And then the Sludge Claws we will set as our yellow bar. So we'll move that down here. And then that will be something that we just keep an eye on from the tank. And then our big AoE kind of unavoidable damage that we're healing is Awaken the Swamp. That's it. Cool. And then we have Geezle Gigazap. That's our last boss. Sorry this video took so long. I will try to make the other one shorter than this. I just thought it would be a good idea to look at the bosses. That way people can kind of get context on what we're actually changing and why we're changing it. So if you don't like that about this, if you'd rather me just go through it and talk about it and like just review it over text and just kind of guess without seeing the fight, then let me know, because I will make the rest like that. But for now, I'm going to record one or two probably in this style of format where we actually look at the fight itself and then, you know, go through Bigwigs and do that. Now we're just looking for the last boss, which will probably be here. Hopefully we can up the video quality a little bit. There we go. All right, let's see what happens in this fight. Let's rewind it just a little bit so we don't miss anything. Turbocharge looks like it does pulsing group-wide damage. That's unavoidable, and then you have to dodge these lines at the same time. So let's just go double check that right now in the game, because if that's the case, then that's already going to be our big AoE heal that we need to do. So siphons power from the generator, gaining 10 electricity and emitting damage to all players every second for 10 seconds. So yeah, that already looks like that is our kind of healing thing. Looks like Gigazap is also something that does a lot of damage. It does more, but for 6 seconds. So let's actually keep watching the fight just in case there's like a bigger group-wide healing thing so that we can kind of decipher between yellow and red, you know, what we want to change to like a yellow or red bar. It was Turbocharge is the one that... Okay, Thunder Punch is our tank buster. Gigazap, this is... What is Gigazap? Did we read that one? I don't think we did. Okay, Gigazap is the one that... Oh, okay. Does it put dots on people? I think that's what it does. Yeah. So Gigazap applies dots to 2 players. It like does a bunch of damage to them and then puts dot on them. So that is not as important as the Turbocharge. The Turbocharge looks like it does a lot more like group-wide damage. Okay, cool. Then already seeing this, we know what we can do. So Turbocharge is going to be our red bar, because that is going to be like the unavoidable group-wide damage that we have to heal. And then Leaping Sparks, not too important. We might have to put that as like an only, you know, only on me thing. Gigazap is going to be our yellow bar instead of the Tank Buster this time, because this is going to be more important because there's 2 healing checks in this fight. We have to, you know, keep players alive that get targeted by this, and we have to keep the group alive when the unavoidable damage happens, so that takes priority over like a tank buster in my brain. We do that, and then for our countdown timer, we will probably do, let's see, shock water. We'll look at what that does. Looks like there's maybe water pools on the floor. And if you're standing in it when it goes off, you take damage. I wonder if there's a time where you want to stand in it, though. That's the thing. Probably not. It looks like there's just a lot of water on the floor. Spawns orbs, and it looks like they fixate people. Oh, it spawns like on top of you, too. Like you need to kite it into a pool, or just... Yeah, okay, it looks like you need to kite it into a pool and then it vanishes. That will be our countdown, because that's kind of a scary ability. So that is Leaping Sparks. So it puts sparks, and then they fixate people, and then everyone needs to put them into a pool on the ground. And then what we'll do is we will put only one on me. And then we will do... is there a fixate sound? Because that... We could even do ads. A fixate. We can do fixate.
Fixate.
And then that's the whole fight. So that is the whole dungeon. For trash mobs, because I don't know what everything does yet, and I haven't had personal experience, what we're going to do with trash is I can either reiterate on this video later and kind of come back to it, or you can come by my stream and ask me about it. Or the other option, what I really recommend people do when it comes to trash bigwigs, because we go over the bosses in depth, when you go into the dungeon and you find something that kills you, like for instance, I'll just use this as an example right now because it happened on the PTR. These Shreddinator 3000s, they cast Shreddation. I'm going to get all of these words wrong all the time this patch. And it just spawns these blades out of the ground, and they just immediately spawn under your feet and just like instant kill you if you're standing still. So what you have to do is be moving when they spawn. So what I'm going to do here, just for an example, like I died in the PTR literally the first pull. So we pulled the first mob, and then I died of this ability immediately. So as soon as that happens, I make a mental note of it, or I literally write it down real quick on a notepad or something. And then when I get out of the dungeon, I change this immediately and try to fix it so that it doesn't happen again. So then what I do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go, okay, I need to know when these spawn. So I either enable a countdown for it, so I can go like that. And then also I could do something like make a sound where it is like, we can do the move sound like I do for swirlies and stuff. So we will just go like this.
Move.
Just every time it spawns, I'm going to hear move and I just strafe a little bit. But I think having the countdown will help too, because they spawn so quickly. It's not like a swirly that spawns under your feet and then you need to move. It's like you already needed to kind of be moving by the time it spawns. But that'll just help reiterate it. So we'll put a countdown, and then in case the countdown doesn't work, then we will just have the move thing on. And then other than that, I don't know a lot of the other abilities, but that's the idea. Is like you go in there, and once you see the ability, if it causes you a problem, come in here into Bigwigs and change it or make an alert for it to help you specifically. Always a big recommendation I have when it comes to trash is it needs to be personalized. It can't just be, it shouldn't just be something, in my opinion, that you just copy from someone else, because what helps them is going to be different from what helps you. You're going to struggle with different things in the dungeon than what I struggle with, and I'm going to struggle with different things than what you struggle with a lot of the time. So that's my advice. That's our first one of the Bigwig series. We will make these a little bit faster. I will try to go through it a little bit quicker, and if you guys don't like the idea of me kind of reviewing the VOD of the bosses and then going back and changing stuff, we can also go back to the old way that we used to do, or it was just a quick little in and out of going into Bigwigs and just kind of guessing based off of the ability names and descriptions, which is fine too. Let me know what you guys want to see, and then I'll get the rest done throughout this week. And that's about it. So see you later.